we'd like to apologise, ladies and gentlemen, for the massive technical issues that we've had to begin this broadcast. We do understand that we are streaming to you 13 minutes later than advertised. We have been working for over 2 hours trying to sort some issues, and we also do apologise for the lack of incident that we have at the moment. So we'll see how that plays out for us. But more importantly than this, we of course are live on Forever Sim Racing, and we are looking here at Zandvoort for the first of 3 lots of Showdown round. At the moment here, it's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Caitlin Penny here on Forever Sim Racing. Caitlin, it's important to talk about this. It's important to see just how crucial that this racing is going to be. We are just only moments away from getting ourselves a full grid. Qualifying though is currently as follows: Johnny Braden at the top, Nicole Foggy in second, Steve Lavallee third, and Rich Warmingham fourth. XV Racer 1, 2, 3, 4.
Indeed, it's looking very, very good again for the XV Racer guys of Brandon, Foggy, Lavallee and Warmingham. Although the Excite Energy drivers not letting them get away with it just yet. Ashley Beard still holding that 5th position, only a couple of hundredths of a second off Rich Warmingham as we speak. I've been watching the session with interest so far. I've noticed that there are a few drivers in very different positions to the positions we're used to seeing them in. I've noticed that Andy Maxwell is in the top 10. I can't remember the last time that happened in qualifying, so he's doing an excellent job there. Currently 22 drivers have set laps. There have been 2 who haven't. Both of them are on track currently. Lane O'Connor had a big crash earlier on and just hasn't been able to set a qualifying lap yet. And Ethan Bass is on his first flight now, I believe. So waiting to see what those guys can do. We also haven't yet had a properly competitive lap from Daniel James. I think his lap was only one where he was warming up his tyres. So still more to come in this qualifying session in the final 15 minutes.
Well, that's all going to be very, very important, as are the championship points, but we don't have any graphics of those to show you at the moment. Worth noting, big news that came in from the stewarding here before racing action. The likes of Cedric Nebelchik and Robin Haase, because they have officially withdrawn from the series, that means they withdraw their place in the quote the 9, and that will mean that moving up into those positions will be Adam Hedgecock and Lee Diemer. It's also worth keeping an eye out on just how close those battles are going to be. Your 9 to keep an eye out on: Nicole Foggy, Johnny Brandon, Chris Daines, Ashley Beard, Dan Brown, Kip Stevens, Adam Hedgecock, Adam McNally and Lee Diemer. No Dan Brown here today. Worth noting as well, the amateurs have their own 9 to deal with. So those in the 9, Sean Gardner currently on top by 2 points. Then it's Andy Maxwell, Michael Bingham, Dan James, Carl Hardy, Charles Kellyman, Steve Cooley, Scott Malcolm and Dean Timms. Those are the 9 in your amateur standings. Everybody else is effectively on the outside looking in and racing for fun, racing for points, with currently 23 drivers of the 24 currently scoring their laps at the moment. Keep an eye out on those who will be looking to try and make those challenges up through the field. We'll keep good close focus on those drivers, but Sean Gardner needs to be good in terms of his qualifying efforts. He currently finds himself 1.5 seconds off the pole position in 13th place at the moment. Andy Maxwell currently is scored in 10th place, his nearest rival when it comes to this championship, and ultimately now knows that every point becomes much more vital.
Let's talk about the track very quickly. Everyone knows the Zandvoort circuit, and we've been looking forward to it for a while. It's coming back to the Formula 1 calendar next year in 2020. Last time it was on that was in 1985. But anyone who's driven the Zandvoort track will be able to tell you just how tricky it is. And to be honest, it's a bit of a Marmite track. Some people love it, some people really don't. I tend to be on the not so lovely side. Basically, I think that the middle sector is pretty annoying to get right. The corners are wide right when you don't want them to be wide, and there are hills right where you don't want there to be hills. But that just adds to the challenge, I suppose. It adds to the appeal of the circuit, and definitely as a spectator's track it's good. And it's very difficult to overtake here as well. The only real overtaking opportunity is into turn 1, and even that's difficult because it's a bank corner, meaning you can take it much faster than you expect to be able to. And as a result, you have to set your run up several corners in advance and just get it get it absolutely done. So qualifying here is going to be important, and that's why everyone's going for it at this point in time.
And what is very important is noting that the XV Racer cars, Johnny Brandon, Nicole Foggy and Steve Lavalley, are the only vehicles inside of the 145 margin. Johnny Brandon on a 145.5. Nearest challengers, Rich Warmingham, who is also XV Racer in 4th position, along with Ashley Beard, are on 146.2s at the moment, which is a full 7/10 of a second lower than what is needed at this point in time. We're talking about track conditions here today. It's mostly cloudy, 19 degrees, 23 on the track. Winds coming in from the north at 3 kilometers an hour, which is going to be massive for the way that this race is going to be run. So we'll keep an eye out on just how good that this racing is going to be. A cold track does mean that times do have that tendency to evolve, to get better, to improve as they go on forward, and that is something that we very much are looking at here. But Caitlin, you know, with 10 minutes to go, I'll say 11 minutes to go here in qualifying, this could be absolutely everything for every driver. They know they've got to get up there, get some big results in. And at the moment, the likes of Ashley Beard, Adam McNally, Chris Daines, all there fighting as members looking to try and get the crown, the overall crown. But they know they have to fight up against 1, Johnny Brandon, and 2, Nicole Foggy.
Yeah, and that's very, very difficult to do. We've seen those two being the top 2 drivers in pretty much all of the races since the RSO drivers left. Of course, the last couple of rounds were at Monza and then also at Limewell Park, and they were fighting for the win in race 1 in both of those. Meanwhile, jump from Chris Daines goes up into 4th position, splits Rich Warmingham from the back of Steve Lavalley, and does a 146.245. So not quite in the 145s, only the top 3 are for the time being, although he's definitely getting closer and closer. But it just indicates how much of an advantage the XV Racer guys have, because while Chris Daines is the top non-XV Racer driver on an early 146, Johnny Brandon's already in the mid 145s. It's a 145.5 for him. So the XV Racers definitely appear to have the ideal setup for this circuit, and are running away with it. And I think that these drivers, if they're going to beat those XV Racers, they're going to have to capitalize on any mistakes that their opponents make. They're going to have to potentially get better jumps if there are cautions, which we have seen happen in the past, and just not put a foot wrong.
Not put a foot wrong is something that a lot of people are looking at and trying to do when it comes to this race. Drivers to keep an eye out on who are not in the chase for the championship are the likes of Peter Van Gool, home circuit here at Zandvoort for the Dutchman. He's in 8th position on a 146.3. You've got Dan Blake for year 1 at the moment, which will make our streamer Graham Sesford very happy. Team boss of year 1 stepping in and dutifully filling in for us. So that we were in a position where we could have very easily have cancelled this stream tonight, which we really did not want to do, and was our last resort if everything was to go the wrong way completely. But he finds himself, Dan Blake, in 9th position, and then you've got Adam Bath in 11th position, ahead of Adam Hedgecock and Lee Deemer, as well as the amateur category championship leader at the moment, Sean Gardner. That's going to be key to keep in mind here, because this is the first time in about 3 or 4 rounds worth of, or 3 or 4 meetings worth of racings, that we have seen the Apex drivers come back into the racing. Both Adam Bath and Andrew Woodhouse, both here. And on top of that, everything is going to be a huge battle to be had around this track, as the likes of, say, Steve Lavalley will maybe want to try and upset the party in 3rd position. He's not in the chase for the 9 at the moment, the chase for the crown. He finds himself very much as a late entry to the series, really has taken a storm though, and next season he'll probably be looking as one of the favourites to try and take that crown away from the likes of Brandon, Foggy and co, and whoever will pick up the championship overall. These 3 rounds become so massively vital. And Caitlin, you have to say at the moment, you're looking at Steve Lavalley in 3rd position. He has been a great addition to this XV Racer team.
Yeah, and he's improved all the way through as well. He looks faster and faster every round. I think last time he qualified, was it 5th maybe? And the time before that it was something like 6th or 7th. So he is improving every time and looks like he could potentially challenge the top 2 here. Definitely 3rd place would be a great result from him. Acting as a rear gunner maybe for Foggy and Brandon, who are in the top 9 shootout. But anyway, has to keep plugging away at those laps. If Chris Staines gets faster towards the end of the session, which could definitely happen. I'm waiting to see if anyone else can get involved as well, because although Daines is the fastest non-XP racer at this point in time, he's actually not that much faster than Ashley Beard or potentially even Adam McNally. Both of those drivers very close in terms of lap times. It's just very tight around that section of the board. In fact, Rich Warmingham in 5th position is only 200ths of a second off Chris Daines. When I first looked, I thought that they had an equal lap time, but not quite. But yeah, definitely Steve LaValle doing an excellent job in 3rd position and getting faster every time.
And that is because of the tyres taking a little while to warm themselves up. You've got a very long operating window to get them into temperature and a very short operating window once they are in temperature, and you have all the grip at your disposal. It is a very difficult vehicle to extract the very best out of it, as Johnny Brandon continues to lead his pack, which includes Nico Foggy, Steve LaValle, Rich Warmingham, Lane O'Connor. It's all the XV Racer drivers in there in the pack, all trying to get as much as they possibly can out of things. Excite Energy trying to do the same with Adam McNally leading Ashley Beard around, trying to do what's best for the team. Lee Deemer on the back needs a little bit of time improvements to get himself up through the order, but very much every driver is looking at, well, where is the time improvements? And it is just there for Nico Foggy, 145.534. You're not going to be able to see the times, ladies and gentlemen. We do apologise for that, but the difference is 7 thousandths in favour of Nico Foggy.
Yeah, and right as that happened, Rich Warmingham jumped back up ahead of Chris Daines, so it's a good lap there for the XV Racer guys. They're obviously pushing, and that's a change there as well. So Chris Daines demoted to just 5th position now, and if I remember correctly, all of the top 4 are XV racers. I actually don't have my liveries on, so if I'm getting anything wrong, then please forgive me. But yeah, they are all XV racer drivers, separated by 6/10 of a second as it stands. But what a lap from Nico Foggy, 145.534, are only just ahead of Johnny Brandon for the time being, but they have a 3/10 of a second margin over anyone else in the field, including their teammates.
Yes, and that very much tells you how those two are the crop of the field. They'll help each other get as quick as possible, but it is worth noting there are points in qualifying, 22 in all, for a pole position, so there is a lot on offer here, especially with the advantage Nico Foggy has in terms of his championship lead with the showdown points that he has been able to accrue in the early goings. It does mean that he comes into this event with a lead of 9, and crucially the next closest challenger, which is Chris Daines in this championship fight, is already starting at a 48-point disadvantage. Now that really does hurt. You have to hope for both drivers, Foggy and Brandon, to run into issues in these races to really make sure that this is going to work out in favour.
Yeah, of course, they have come together in the past. They came together twice at Monza, both at the same corner on the final lap of 2 of the races. And I believe they also had a light touch in one of the races at Lime Rock as well. So it's definitely not beyond the realms of possibility that they could. We don't hope that they will, although it certainly would spice up the action. Chris Daines and Ashley Beard currently holding the 3rd row of the grid. They're probably the people who are most likely to challenge the XV Racer drivers in Race 1. Although, even if Race 1 does end up being quite straightforward, which it might end up being, we do have 2 more races afterwards, which both count for the same number of points in the championship, so are equally as important. But they do have partially reversed grids, so that can really swap around the order in terms of the championship, as Ashley Beard goes 5th.
Yeah, that's what I had to know about, and he moves 0.02 of a second clear of Chris Daines, now in 6th position, so big time there for Ashley Beard. Moves up through the position and does exactly what was needed of him. Getting the time there late in the day with just 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. A handful of drivers not out there on track, and of course with this being a minute 45 for a lap, you've got to say that those who aren't out there right now have pretty much next to no chance of getting the lap times that they want. Adam Bath making a push to the line, currently on a 1:46.8 his best. 1:47.4 will not be an improvement. An improvement for Chris Danes is what he is looking for, and he does not find it on a 1:48 flat. He does have 2 laps though that he can go and get it correct here, Caitlin, because once they do start go across the start finish line, they have mastermind rules. They started, so they'll finish.
Yeah, of course. It's a 30-minute time session, although the session doesn't tick over directly when you see the 30-minute board. You have to pass the checkered flag unless you're already in the pit lane or you return to the pits, although that does of course mean that you can complete your lap. A couple of improvements coming on further down the order. I just saw a bit of a jump, didn't exactly see who it was. It was around about the 14th or 15th position, but up front I think it's going to be relatively stagnant because Johnny Brandon is in the pit lane. Rich Birmingham and Steve LaValle are currently being dragged around by Nicole Foggy, trying to improve and just get an extra safety buffer since Chris Danes is still on track, although I'm not sure that anything's going to change here.
Well, we'll see if anything does, because there is 45 seconds left in qualifying to get out and do a lap, as a few drivers look to try and get over the line. Dean Timms in the amateur category, Showdown, looking to try and find what is needed. Answer is a 1:47.7. It's half a second off of what he needs. His best time is a 1:47.252 at this point in time, so very much needs to find just a little bit more when it comes to this. Across the line comes Daniel James. He does a 48.6. That's not good enough. And then the train, with 15 seconds to go, makes its way through. Foggy goes for another big lap, and he does not find what he needs, so he's got to go again, and he's got not much time. Warmingham is going to call that qualifying done by his standards. Scott Malcolm is the last over the line, just got over the line, moves up into 17th place. So now this becomes a case of who's out there who can challenge. Lee Deemer and Ashley Beard are out there on track. So can Ash Beard find maybe the 6-7 tenths of a second that he needs? Always difficult, and a wiggle there from Beard entering the Audi S. Always going to be a tough challenge as he goes through, but ultimately I think he's not going to be in a position where he finds exactly what he wants. Moves himself through the penultimate corner and into the final corner, turn 13, which of course on the new layout next year is said to have a big bank over on that left-hand side. Cross the line, Beard will head. Does he find the improvement that he wants? Yes, he does not. 1:47 flat. I thought it was a 46 flat for a moment, so no improvements there. Likes of Adam Bath and Chris Danes trying to find improvements on time, as is Daniel James at the moment, and Dean Timms. Timms finds himself in 16th out of 24. Dan James on a 48.6 is very much at the back of the field at the moment for this race. Here's Dean Timms over the start finish line, does a 46.9. That's good enough to move up to 14th place. A great time by Dean Timms, and he can be very happy with that one. It puts him currently as second fastest in the amateur standings. Dan James crosses the line, does a 47.9. He jumps one position, and that is above John Roberts overall. Adam Bath looks for the time. It's not there. He will stay no better than 12th place, as Scott Malcolm will be the last driver over the line. Does he find improvements ahead of 17th in the amateur category battle? He finds himself a 1:47.9, not good enough. This is how the field will stack. It will be Nicole Foggy then on pole position, 1:45.534. He's ahead by 7 thousandths over Johnny Brandon in second. Steve LaValle starts this one from third. Rich Warmingham goes from fourth with Ashley Beard in fifth. Chris Danes in sixth place with Adam McNally seventh, and Peter Van Gool in eighth position. Dan Blake and Andy Maxwell, they lock row 5.
Lane O'Connor recovered to P11 after being the last driver to set a flying lap, in fact. Adam Barth was P12, followed by Adam Hedgecock, one of the drivers who made it into the 9, I believe. Dean Timms, P14, then Sean Gardner, Lee Deemer, Scott Malcolm, Ethan Bass, Andrew Woodhouse, and Charles Kellyman, P20.
And then the final few drivers as the session expires here for qualifying officially, and we get ourselves over to the 2-minute starting grid. It will be James Leggett going from 21st, Michael Bingham from 22nd, Daniel James will start from 23rd, and it is John Roberts who will be going from 24th position. Just imagine this, ladies and gentlemen, as if you're watching racing from the 1970s. No graphics, no nothing. This is just going to be a case of you watch the vehicle and you trust what you see. This is going to be some brilliant racing as the showdown looks to start here at Zandvoort. It's going to be a big, big race as everyone is looking to try and find that one magical moment from everyone where they can cement themselves as champion of the first BSR TCR season. The Sunday Cup could have a couple of Sunday winners. You cannot win this championship at this point in time, but my goodness, can you certainly lose it here at Circuit Park Zandvoort, this Grand Prix layout, as they look to try and find everything that they possibly can. It's not going to be a foregone conclusion around here. Yes, qualifying says one thing, but races are often different. You get those margins. They are finer, they are closer. You need to be a lot more on your toes around a track where overtaking can sometimes be a little bit difficult as the likes of Chris Daines gets up onto the grid. We do wait for one driver, that one being Lee Deemer, who is the only other driver except for John Roberts who is on the grid at the moment. They have those 2 minutes to get themselves up, or they are starting from pit road. On comes John Roberts and on comes Lee Deemer. Light procedure will start. There are 4 XV racer cars at the front. Johnny Brandon, Nicole Foggy, those two look like they're prime contenders for the championship as the green flag goes. And let's get ourselves then underway as it's a slow start on this as they're 4 wide already. Daines goes through and they crisscross the beams at the front. Nicole Foggy and Johnny Brandon side by side. Brandon on the outside of the banked turn number 1 and ultimately not going to find it. Foggy gets the breakaway that he wanted. Daines already up into 3rd, warming in 4th. Beard now in 5th position. No dramas. They go on the brakes into the right-handers of turns 3 and 4, which is the long looping left-hander. No worries at all then from the opening pack as we are clean. Checking up in the background, but clean.
Yeah, I think everyone's got through cleanly. I've been looking at the back of the field. Michael Bingham's lost 2 places and he now rounds out the pack. Although it's Foggy leading from Brandon. Contact! Lavalley is off with McNally. McNally bounced off the barriers. He's recovered, but that's given a few places up, and I think it might be is that Ash Beard up to 3rd now potentially?
Up to 4th, yes, as they go through and almost contact there in the background with Dan Blake and Lane O'Connor. They've got to be careful about that together as the likes of Andrew Woodhouse and Adam Hedgecock battle it out together. There's contact there as there's turn around. That is the Excite Energy car. That's Lee Deemer, the 9th man of the 9, who gets himself turned and not having a good start then to his showdown as he looks to make the pushes at the front. The front 2 have broken away, but Chris Daines under pressure here. This is Ashley Beard looking at the Audi S, trying to make the move sorted and does not find what is needed through that section. Picks up a great run off the exit, but has to check up again because of the fact of the way that Chris Daines is running. This has been a good start for them. They are not catching at the moment. Those 2 at the front, they have got themselves to a race of their own, but for the time being anyway, it seems that those drivers, 3rd, 4th and 5th, they will race for damage limitation in the early stages, Caitlin.
Yeah, of course, we're going to see the order as we cross the line now. I see McNally is side by side again, trying to hold off Steve Lavalley. These 2 came together on the first lap, so it's Foggy, Brandon, Daines, Beard, Womingham, then McNally and Lavalley, who are side by side once again through turn 1. That's Lavalley on the right-hand side, the driver's right, but McNally gets the better run and keeps 6th position. Andy Maxwell P8, then it's Dan Blake and Lane Connor, the top 10. They're fighting at the bottom part of the top 10 with Maxwell just ahead of them. The Excite Energy drivers dropping back slightly at this point in time from the XV race at the front of the field, Jake.
Yeah, no surprises there. Chris Danes, of course, Brittech Simsport, looking to try and make his push forward. No surprises there being dropped. They lost 2 seconds on the opening lap, and it's even more as Foggy and Brandon look to try and masterclass the field and run away to their own race. They will battle against each other. That's where the big title challenge seems to be heading at the moment, as drivers look to try and find their own bits of consolidation here out on the road. Again, LaValle looking as now suddenly Rich Warmingham wakes up and gets down the inside of Ashley Beard. That one for 4th and 5th position. It was a case of a slide for Beard heading through that right left-hand 180 degrees corner, and just like that, Rich Warmingham very much gets through and comfortably moves up into 4th place. A mistake from Beard, and there is a mistake for Steve LaValle. It's a slowdown penalty on lap 2. The worst time to get them, as now suddenly there was a little half look down the inside from one of the Apex cars. That didn't work for Adam Barth, and suddenly Andrew Woodhouse, who started right near the back of the field, started 19th, is on the back of his own teammates. Brilliant work, but look at how LaValle struggled. Now Adam Hedgecock wants in.
LaValle there struggled to get back onto the racing line because every time he tried there's contact. Big crash up in the air over the barrier and spin.
Flag is out.
Big crash, and that's taken out Adam LaValle and Adam Hedgecock. Disaster for both of them.
And a caution.
And a caution flag's been thrown.
Yeah, caution, a massive incident there between Steve LaValle and Adam Hedgecock, and that was a case of Steve LaValle thinking that he had an overlap to move to the outside, but all of a sudden, Adam Hedgecock's still there. He's probably thinking, well, why Steve LaValle just swiped on me like that? A massive incident. It's thrown the caution out then over these 15 minutes, and you have to say it did deserve it. It was a massive, horrible hit into the inside of the pit wall and back onto the racing line. There was very much a chance that those drivers who were coming up, and most of them in the amateur category battle, could have run into that incident. There was no way of predicting where they were going to go, Caitlin.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was struggling to get back onto the racing line because every time he tried to, he found a car in his way. There was a stream of cars coming through, and it's bitten him again. You see him crabbing there. He's got heavy damage. He's going to have to pull into the pit, surely, because that car is not going to be handling well when the race restarts. But, yeah, no, that was just him. Oh, wow, big slide behind the safety car. That was just him thinking that all of the stream of cars had gone past and not realizing that there was another one to his right hand side. Must have been in his blind spot. I expect he might be using only one monitor, which would explain why he had the blind spot there. But anyway, big incident, and a shame for both of them, especially Adam Hedgecock, who was completely innocent in that.
Very much so, and now it's a case of who is going to think about pit road and diving down in. They'll line up behind the iRacing Porsche first safety car. 5 minutes of the first 15-minute race has already been scored complete. They're at 1/3 distance, and they'll spend a couple of laps behind that safety car, going around getting the fuel and tyres that they need. If they do need to come down in, those with damage will do, and they will look to get back going again. This really does shorten the green flag running around this track, and an incident that happens at this point in time means there's only going to be a handful of minutes as drivers now weave and try and get the tyres kept up to temperature here, Caitlin, as they now think about, well, how do we attack the rest of this race? It seems that Foggy and Brandon were in their own battle. They were going to battle amongst each other. Now all of a sudden Johnny Brandon has got to be alert to the fact that drivers behind could get in on the fun.
So we're waiting for the safety car to come in. I expect it to probably, it'll come in the next 2 laps. Of course, the race is a timed race, I think. So we're going to be going to 15 minutes. We're not going to be. That does mean actually that we're going to be losing a lot of time in this, a lot of race time, and hopefully everyone keeps it clean on the restart, because we know in the past that safety cars do tend to breed more safety cars. Steve LaValle, meanwhile, I believe he has been into the pits for his fast repair, because he's now back on track and his car is looking a lot neater, a lot tidier. It's not driving diagonally, which is always a good sign. and he's come out right at the back of the field. Everyone's still in this race, I believe, because Hedgecock also is, in fact, he hasn't even been into the pits, as you can tell by the crumpled front end of his Audi, so hopefully he doesn't have too much damage. Lavalley, I knew, would have had to have taken that trip through the pits, whatever happens, but this does mean that Danes, Wilmingham, Beard, McNally, all of those drivers are a lot closer to the XP Racer drivers than they were before. I was saying before the race that if they want to beat them, they may need to capitalise on things such as safety car restarts. Well, here's one.
It definitely is one, and this is going to be a tough start, because I wonder whether Nicole Foggy and Johnny Brandon are going to coordinate their run. The lights on top of the iRacing Porsche first safety car are on. They will go for at least one more lap as expected. On the next lap by, that they will dive down in onto pit road, and they will look to try and get that move working in the next few moments. So we'll see if anybody will come down and sacrifice their track position to get some clean vehicles or a good reason to attack. They know it's a long safety car here. This safety car only travels at 64 kilometers an hour, which is slow for safety car standards around a track like this. So this safety car is hurting absolutely everybody's chance of scoring some big points then as they go on through. So the question will become, will anybody dive down onto the pit road? I expect maybe one or two may decide to bank on it, and if you're at the back of the field, you really don't have much to lose by doing so here, Caitlin.
So one more lap of the safety car. Indeed, yeah, Steve Lavalley will be going for a flat-out send, I expect, because he's got nothing to lose at this point in time. Hopefully now he'll make sure to check when a car is in his blind spot. But whatever the case, yeah, he's going to be really going for it from the back, as are a couple of other drivers who have been affected. Adam Hedgecock is in the pit, so Hedgecock's using his fast repair and escaping from the pit lane now. So disappointing for him. Obviously he felt that the damage was too severe, and he should really have taken that a lap ago, because that has now put him right to the back of the train, I think. Actually, not quite. He has somehow still come out ahead of Steve Lavalley. I'm quite surprised by that. But anyway, rejoins the pack just behind the Demon, and he's making his way back through the pack. Is he allowed to do that?
Yes, he's got to get back into position. I think this is the position that he has been given at this point in time, so he'll work himself to said position. The safety car speed here is so slow, and it's not dictated by any driver or anything like that. It's dictated by iRacing algorithms and things like that. The thing is, it was a case of, well, how far have we gone? How quick does it go? It really is not a brilliant place in terms of speed. The top speed of this safety car is going at 64 kilometers an hour, which I think is too slow for a track like this. I think it needs to be up at least 80 to everyone to try and get through, as everyone has just sat and has waited to try and get themselves going. They know that they've got the lights off of the safety car this next time by, but I think every driver is sitting and waiting and thinking, well, we've been around this for 3.5 minutes on that next lap. It's going to be 3.5 or 4 minutes on this one. By the time they get going, they're probably going to get 1, maybe 2 laps here, Caitlin, of racing. This is going to be a proper sprint.
Yeah, this is gonna, well, we're not gonna have many laps at all, possibly even just 1 lap left when the race gets restarted. That's a bit of a shame. I think we might have to be a bit more reluctant in throwing cautions in the next 2 races, but whatever the case, the safety car is still there and will be until the end of this lap. And the timer, yeah, we've already got about actually no, because that elapsed time also counts the part before the race, doesn't it? So we may still get 2 laps before the end. It all depends on when Foggy is allowed to cross the start-finish line, and I suppose we'll work it out when it happens. But just to remind you, it's Foggy leading from Brandon, Danes, Wilmingham, Beard, McNally, Maxwell, Blake, O'Connor and Bath, the top 10 on the restart. Andrew Woodhouse trying to break into to that top 10, and one of your other contenders in the first 9, Adam Hedgecock, is currently right down near the back of the field. He hasn't made his way past all of the cars that he would have hoped to have made his way past. But whatever the case, here comes the restart.
Here comes the restart indeed. 2 corners before they go. A lot of room being given by Johnny Brandon. He wants a jump over Nicole Foggy, who is desperate to say, come on, pace car, let's go. I'm sitting, I'm waiting. I've waited for minute after minute, and Foggy has been taking that time off of the clock, and he will just want to go as quickly as he can when that pace car dives down onto the lane. A green flag comes out and they go racing. So we'll see how this plays out for Nicole Foggy, Johnny Brandon, Chris Danes, Rich Warmingham, Ash Beard in 5th position. Andy Maxwell, mind you, is up into 7th. Massive for the amateur category championship at the moment. His nearest rival is in 14th. There's the green flag, and let's get going. And time on the clock as Foggy has been absolutely caught stone cold dead with 2 laps to go here at Zandvoort, and now trying to run the outside line. Too wide, too deep as Beard tries to go around the outside. Nicole Foggy has been caught. He's got to be on the outside now for turn 3. This is a massive, massive battle for the championship as they go through. And side by side they stay to turn 4, and Foggy survives. Here comes Danes.
Yeah, and Danes through on the inside. He's going to get Brandon there. Easy peasy. Brandon leaving the door open, and had to, because he was left with Foggy. Slight touch between the two of them. Wheel hub to wheel hub. Foggy leads somehow, just about hung on to it, despite the slow safety car restart. Brandon anticipated it perfectly, but that probably ended up hurting him, because then he was on a poor line. He was out of the rhythm as they reached the Hugenhall spot, and all of a sudden he's losing. Well, he's lost the position to Danes. He's got his teammate Warmingham right in his tail now, acting as a rear gunner, and now Danes with 2nd position. Will he attack Foggy, or will he have to defend?
Well, that's the question. I think defending here for Chris Danes could be order of the day. If he can defend this position, he is gaining some big points by being in that 2nd place. Oh no, don't go too deep. And Foggy, Johnny Brandon gives him the tap. Forward he'll go. He's got to try and get it sorted. He's on the racing line, and that's disastrous as Beard gets himself into the fence in avoidance. He can't do anything on the grass. It's like ice out there as they're going through. It's Rich Warmingham and Adam McNally, and there's more contact. That's Andy Maxwell, leader of the AM category championship, now running himself into issues. And the likes of Van Gaul goes through, and James Leggett now waits. Dean Timms there as well. It's madness as they go through with a white flag. 3 seconds short was Nicole Foggy as he went through, and now here is the biggest opportunity of them all. It's XV Racer 1, 2, 3, Foggy, Brandon, Warmingham, then McNally there in 4th position, Beard now 5th, Dan Blake up to 6th for year 1, Lane O'Connor is 7th, Danes is back to 8th place, and then Barton Woodhouse are 9th and 10th in this opening race. It's all kicking off, and now Danes immediately on the offensive, trying to get down the inside of Lane O'Connor. O'Connor will have to play gunner here for his team and try and defend this as hard as he possibly can in his 8th place scrap. No dice at the moment for Danes. He comes up the hill and looks for every single opportunity that presents itself. There will be words about the Johnny Brandon move. I am sure the stewards will have a very firm look on what is happening there, but got Nicole Foggy just doing enough, pulling the gap away, just getting enough room again and again and again. Adam Bath might decide he wants to go aggressive, so may Peter Van Gaal in 11th position between them, but keep an eye also on the Excite cars, 4th and 5th, McNally and Beard. McNally in front, Beard behind. McNally is not done and could be under pressure coming towards the end, but only a handful of corners remain. Johnny Brandon desperately trying to chase down this gap, hoping there is a mistake on the infallible Nicole Foggy as they go through the Audi S for the final time. And now to the penultimate corner. Nicole Foggy has got away with one there. He was slow on the restart, but ultimately he got exactly what he came for, and that is a big result. He will cross the start-finish line and take race 1 with a big win against his teammate and rival Johnny Brandon. It'll be Rich Warmingham who gets the 1, 2, 3 for 3rd. McNally ahead of Beard, and as they cross the line, Van Gaal could not get the move that he wanted. And huge for the amateur category championship is the fact that Andy Maxwell held on to 12th place and continues to extend his lead. What a race!
What an unbelievable race that was, goodness me. The winning margin less than 6 tenths per second, in the end just 0.561, and Foggy will will be feeling quite lucky that he was able to keep ahead of all of that, because he could well have been caught up with Brandon and Danes had he dropped back. Not actually sure if Brandon did touch Danes. I haven't looked at the replay yet. I think he probably did, judging by what I saw, although I don't want to push and blame because I didn't get a good look at it. I've only seen it once. Whatever the case, yeah, slightly dodgy restart from Danes. Ashley Beard ended up dropping to 5th and all of that. He could have been on for a podium potentially. But yeah, great race from Foggy despite the safety car and the slow restart. And yeah, BSR's back. Sorry.
Yeah, BSR very much back and better than ever in the words of Eric Bischoff. But here is the official classified results. Nico Foggy picks up the win, 16 minutes, 43 seconds. Margin of victory with just half a second for Johnny Brandon in second and Rich Warmingham there in third. Adam McNally gets fourth ahead of his teammate Ashley Beard to give himself a big boost in the Showdown points, with Dan Blake sixth, best of the non-Showdown riders, with Lane O'Connor in seventh. Actually, I will correct myself, Rich Warmingham isn't a Showdown driver, but Chris Dane's eighth position could have been second, just wasn't to be. Adam Bath ninth ahead of teammate Andrew Woodhouse.
So in 11th position at the end of all of that was Peter Van Gool, followed by Andy Maxwell, then James Leggett, Dean Timms, who actually crossed the line on the grass, Daniel James, Scott Malcolm, Charles Kellyman, Sean Gardner, John Roberts, Steve LaValle, who got very much in the woods. Bit of a naughty boy in that race, I'd say. But anyway, then Lee Deemer, Michael Bingham, Ethan Bass, and Adam Hedgecock round out the field. Gutting for Hedgecock. Although if there is a significant reverse thread, he could be very much in a good position for race 2.
Well, if his name was Adam Hedgehog, it would have been a very spiky race in terms of the way that things went. But aside from that, though, and I don't mean any disrespect by that, Caitlin, at all.
I know, I'm joking.
But on top of this, we've got, of course, the 2 reverse grids coming up. I will spin a spinny wheel for this one, and looking at the result, it will be full -1 is the result that I get on my spinning wheel. So we'll get a full reverse grid minus the 1 of Adam Hedgecock, which is not going to be good for him. We're going to step aside, though, for one moment on Forever Sim Racing. We'll be back with more after this. All good.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah. First race for you, Graham. Yeah, how was it? Did you find it okay? That's all good. So cool. Awesome. Yeah, you need to log out and go into the next server, which will be up shortly. This is where I say something about Dutch motorways being the slowest motorways in all of Europe.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
I didn't know they were.
They are, and they are very slow.
How slow are they?
Slower than the pace car.
Okay. Is that because they have a slow speed limit or just a lot of traffic?
Slow speed limit.
Okay. What's the speed limit?
I think it's something like 50. I'm not too sure.
Oh golly. I bet literally no one has. I bet literally no one has ever stuck to the speed limit in the Netherlands.
They're too busy doing pot.
Okay.
Because the rule is you can't do pot outside, you can do pot inside.
Gotcha.
And there's another drug which you can do outside, but you can't do inside. It's so weird. I do.
I think we should be a little bit more reluctant to throw caution.
I had no idea that the pace car would be that goddamn slow.
It's okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to like blame you for that, but
No,
you know.
it's cool. It's cool. That actually has to go on Lee, because for the last couple of sessions we've had a lap count, so that wouldn't have mattered. It's only this session where it hasn't been.
Sure.
And either way, I'd have been here adjudicating the race as steward anyway, so. That's one of the fun things that I get to do, Graham. I get to throw safety cars because I have the power. I know. I'm half tempted in the final race to throw a safety car for nothing.
Please don't.
Of course not.
Good.
Oh, is our mic still open?
Oh.
No, they're open.
Hi guys. Sorry.
Oh, well, anyway, a second race will be coming up very shortly, and hopefully that will be very, very good. So, oh yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we are here and we are behind the scenes, technically, so to speak. So, we can be chill, we can be calm, and it's nice. Caitlin?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, we are good to go back live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BSR TCR Sunday Cup here on Forever Sim Racing. For any interesting facts that you heard about the Dutch or anything that you heard that shouldn't have been viewable for a broadcast or public ears, we do apologise for anything that may have got out in that period of time. We do not know what has been said fully or remember what was said in full, but we certainly will find out once this stream is over. Welcome to the broadcast of Nightmares, ladies and gentlemen, for us on our end. It's Jake Sperry, Caitlin Penny here in the commentary box. Graham Sessford stepping in for Marco Barbanera, who deals with power issues, which he accrued earlier on today. But Caitlin, heading towards this second race, it's worth noting that the stewards have put in 9 laps on the clock. We will get a guaranteed 9 laps or 30 minutes worth putting in after the fact that a safety car period took a full half of the race to do 2-3 laps.
Yeah, it wasn't a great race one if you consider the safety car. Although anyway, race 2 coming up. We've learnt from that mistake, and we're going to get a full race, no matter whether we get a yellow or not. Of course, the yellow may take 2 or 3 of those laps, but at least it won't take the entire or most of the race. Whatever the case, we're just gearing up for the second race now. We've seen another XP racer 1-2, although that doesn't tell the full story of what we just saw. 1-2-3, indeed, you're right. Although that doesn't tell the full story of what we just saw, and it was a much more complicated race than, for example, if you took a look at a result sheet or a statistics sheet, and you really need to have seen it to have believed it. But anyway, it's believable because it's BSR, and BSR is about to give us a race with almost a full reverse grid.
Almost -1 Adam Hedgecock, who in the chat with us was very much hoping that there would be a re-roll of the grid. I'm sorry to say there won't, and that will mean that he will stay in the position that he is in for the time being. Worth keeping an eye out, though, with this reverse grid. This is going to be a tough 9 laps worth of racing, a tough 15 minutes, because we saw how drivers who couldn't get a good start meant that it was 4 wide as they made their way towards turn number 1 immediately. You have to be very, very cautious, Caitlin, with the way that you start these cars. No clutch in these, so you're riding the accelerator and brake at the same time, which means that life can be difficult when you get to a start, especially from standing in these vehicles.
You often see a lot of drivers getting the start completely wrong, or a lot of other drivers gaining plenty of positions at the start of races. It really does come down to how good the driver is at the start of the race. And when you have a reverse grid, that very much when you have a reverse grid, that can very much confuse things. I remember at Road America there was a big crash off the start because some drivers who started at the front didn't get good getaways, and as a result the field kind of bunched up in the middle, and it didn't end well. Although hopefully today it'll go a lot better. We do have a shorter run to turn 1 here than we did at Road America, and turn 1 is a little bit, I think a little bit faster because of how it's banked. It definitely feels faster even if it isn't, and as a result it's doesn't really matter so much how good you are off the start.
Well, how good they are off the start, it's going to be a big, big selling point of how this race is going to go. And of course that Audi S becomes so vital as an overtaking opportunity. It's a tough track to get the moves done. It's surprisingly short in terms of its straights, apart from, of course, that front straight, but a lot of drivers struggling to really keep that momentum, and this is one of those tracks where you have to be good at carrying that mid-corner speed and being able to keep the car centered on an apex, and that's where I think a lot of drivers have struggled here in the opening race and qualifyings that we have seen. Practice, so to speak, is very much over when it comes to this here in the second round of 9 here in terms of the overall showdown, the second round of 3 tonight. The grid as follows then. It will be Ethan Bass on pole position with Michael Bingham alongside Lee Dima, starts from third along with Steve Lavalley. John Roberts goes from fifth, Sean Gardner in sixth. Then it's Charles Kellyman and Scott Malcolm. Daniel James will go from ninth with Dean Timms in 10th. Row 6 will see James Leggett and Andy Maxwell with Peter Van Gool and Andrew Woodhouse on row 7. Row 8 will be Adam Barth and Chris Daines. Then Lane O'Connor, Dan Blake, Ashley Beard, Adam McNally, Rich Warmingham, Johnny Brandon, Nicole Foggy, and from the back, Adam Hedgecock, who was the unlucky loser when it came to the reverse grid. We will see how that may just play into its hands the longer that these sorts of races are going to go. Just 1 minute though to grid up here in this second race. You've got to be a lot quicker, a lot slicker, a lot smoother.
Green flag,
and
green
there's
flag.
the green flag, and one driver will not be there as they go, and they take to the start. So it's going to be a very tough start as they go through. Nice and clean though. At the front, it was Dean Timms who has to start this one from pit road. A vehicle already on the grass was Peter Van Gool as they made their way forward, but ultimately Ethan
a big crash.
started a big crash there in the background, and it's a huge accident as they went on through. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles got themselves caught up in that one, and there was a caution for it there. It did come out, so they are going to check themselves up. Then after that lap 1 incident, a huge incident that catches 4 cars out.
Yeah, Johnny Brandon was one of them. I saw him going off at turn 1, and that was all started. It was 4 into 1, not going, unsurprisingly so. And actually, quite a few of the top guys were in that because it occurred so far back. I think Lane O'Connor was the guy who got speared across the across the road.
We got lapped
not
this
entirely
time.
sure who was involved in that. I think Dan Blake is. He was involved in it. He went hard into the barrier. Didn't quite get away with it, and a few others are going to be quite heavily affected. Adam Hedgecock, I think, made it through okay from the very back of the grid, and this is going to be good for Dean Timms because that gets him right onto the tail of it all. But Ethan Bass leads after all of the carnage settles.
Well, the carnage is going to be something to keep in mind, and of course with 5 vehicles off there, 5 big vehicles off at the back of the field. That was a massive incident as they went through, so this will be a case of a caution. But the good news is, of course, they do have that extra time added on, plus it's set to lap, so they will have that ability to go a little bit quicker. When you do have that big incident in the back of the pack, it does mean that it's going to be a tough case for these drivers. They are able to go through. Van Gool, though, has had enough. He's decided, you know what? It's not worth my time. I'm going to sit out on this one and try and go through. I've got no points to fight for anyway. I am okay with this just for the time being. So 9 laps then on the clock. 1 lap already then effectively score complete. A long wait then as Ethan Bass is holding the field up and trying to take as much time off of the clock as possible as they go through. So this is going to be a very difficult challenge then for everyone to go on through. Ethan Bass leads, Bingham second, Lavalley up to third, Dima back to fourth, and Gardner goes up into 5th place off of that start. A big start for them, but a chance for them to save some fuel, really go out there and try and get their voices back in check, get their brains back in check as they look to get a good start.
So going on to the second lap, this is probably the slowest you'll see them moving all day, apart from when they're stationary before the start of the race. I'd make a Dutch motorway joke, although Jake has already done that, of course. Across the start-finish line, Ethan Bass triggers the line, and that's by the slowest first lap I've ever seen in my life. Michael Bingham second, followed by Steve Lavalley, Lee Dima, Sean Gardner, Charles Kellyman, John Roberts, Scott Malcolm, Daniel James, and Andy Maxwell are the top 10. And we're about to see who the drivers who are affected by the incident are. I think. Oh no, he's come through. James Leggett was definitely one of them, as was Lane O'Connor and Dan Blake. Actually, I think Leggett got through with no damage, so never mind that. Peter Van Gool appears to be out of the race. I don't see where he's got to, so we've lost Peter Van Gool. It's the first driver missing. But definitely Johnny Brandon was involved. Adam Barth was also involved, and I think Rich Warmingham was involved as well. So yeah, some big names in that.
Yep, some big names, and just looking to dissect what happened in that opening big incident. I didn't catch it in its entirety, but it seemed absolutely massive to see so many vehicles off, and you could see a big chocker block. They were 4 wide heading their way through, and then 1 vehicle, 2 vehicle, and they came straight back across the track. Always going to be very difficult, very much caution worthy. Likes of James Leggett, I think, got involved in all of that, and a couple of drivers scampered through. Those included Adam Hedgecock, who is up, get this, after just a lap's worth of racing here, 10 places. That was perfect.
Yeah, I think that was a complete racing incident from those guys. But as you say, plenty of places there gained from Adam McNally going up 8 places, and a couple more positions being gained behind. Rich Warmingham's gained a few, and Nicole Foggy has as well. Despite the fact, I'm pretty sure that Warmingham was involved in the incident, so hopefully he doesn't have too much damage, if any. I think possibly Adam Bath got a slow start because he's dropped 3 positions, and that's partly because of the accident, but I think that he should have been further ahead of the guys that he got involved with. So I think it may have been him dropping back into the pack that triggered the 4 wide. However, I really don't think you can apportion any blame onto into any of those drivers there. It was a racing incident. You can't go 4 wide on that part of the track and expect it to go okay. And I'm not sure they knew they were 4 wide. You have to provide for that at the start, but really they all had the same responsibility as each other, so no blame, I'd say.
Well, they do have their spotters available to them in the vehicle, so they would have heard maybe you're in the middle, 4 wide as they went through. It's always risky to go 4 wide. Drivers were looking to try and gain places early, and of course, you have to remember as well around this track, Caitlin, it is a narrow racetrack, and a narrow track means that when you get vehicles going 3 wide, 4 wide, it's always going to be difficult to see everyone coming through to the end, because simply put, there's not enough track width.
Yeah, it's a very narrow track. It's wide at some points in the middle sector. The part where it goes to the right and then to the left before the back straight. Can't remember exactly what that part of the course is called right now. Those are the widest parts of the circuit, but because of the nature of those corners, they're not really an overtaking opportunity because you can take so many lanes through there. And it's very flat as well, not in terms of flat out, but in terms of there's not really any elevation or banking through there. So in terms of overtaking, it's you pretty much have to rely on dive bombs, which don't help. Those are the Renault Bocht and the Vodafone Bocht that I'm talking about. I think those are their latest names anyway. Corners like that do tend to change names quite often. But yeah, the rest of the track is so narrow. You have to focus on defense mainly. I remember a race that I did in a 1976 Formula 1 car where I had a clearly quicker opponent behind me, and I managed to hold him off for something like 36 minutes by just sticking in the middle of the road, because there's not really any way that you can get through here.
No, there certainly isn't. I think all these drivers know and understand that they have to be absolutely on their game as they go on forward. We'll see how this goes on. 3 drivers did come down in and make a stop. Those drivers include Chris Daines, Dan Blake and James Leggett. Those are the 3 that came down in and decided to make a pit stop under the safety car conditions. So that's going to be something just to keep in mind then after the opening exchanges of this race. But crucially enough though, Ethan Bass has control of the field. Michael Bingham there in second, Steve Lavallee there in third, so they run through. This is still some good points coming in for Lee Deemer, who had a horrible opening race of the night, but he can get his championship points back in with a win here or some strong points finishes in this second race. He knows this is going to lapse. If it does not, it may go to 30 minutes and not, of course, the 15 that is expected. Of course, this is a very, very long safety car in terms of how quick it goes. That wasn't helped, of course, by Ethan Bass being slow behind or on his own accord, deciding to run at a jovial pace around to catch the said safety car. But ultimately, restart coming up in just a few moments' time. Caitlin, what do you expect from it?
I expect, well, I hope that it's going to be clean. I expect the drivers behind to try to gain positions, especially those in the 9 who will be feeling points slipping away from them. And I'm also expecting the drivers at the front, knowing that they're not going to get many more opportunities like this, to really use it to their full advantage. So Ethan Bates, he has to control the field here and get the launch off the start. And Michael Bingham just behind him as well. Dropped back at Lime Rock after, I think, starting on the race 3 pole. He wants to redeem himself for that performance with this one.
Certainly does. So they make their way around the Audi S. It's a waiting game now. Drivers will need to be very quick on this restart. We saw how it can potentially go wrong if you're not too careful. Drivers will be a little bit pent up. They've only driven a corner in aggression for 10 minutes worth of driving, so they know that they've got to go out there and they've got to be absolutely perfect as they go through the opening section. We'll see how this one plays out. A lot of gaps being given to drivers in the middle of the pack as they make their way through the final corner. They do have that opportunity to close up to the pace car, which will be diving in at the end of this lap. We'll go on then. Start lap number 4 out of 9. It will give them 5 laps to go in terms of this one. Sorry, that's a lie. That is going to be 6 laps to go as they cross the line. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. There goes the safety car, and there is the green flag. So Bass goes, Bingham goes, Lavallee goes a lot better. Bingham tried to cover it, but he's a little too late there. He was a little slow to react. And thank you very much as they made their way through. So we'll keep an eye on this as they continue to have their scrap and their battle. On the brakes they go into the opening corners. Lavallee still there on that inside. So they're 3 wide in the middle of the pack behind. That is the likes of Andy Maxwell going at Adam McNally. Andrew Woodhouse thinks better of it. Vehicle off though, and that is going to be Michael Bingham. Can he get it checked up? Over to the outside. Just about everyone getting away with it, getting around and avoiding.
Okay, that was close. I thought it was going to be much worse. Meanwhile, James Leggett in the pits using his fast repair did that a lap too late, realistically. But anyway, as we head up the hill, the pack behind is fighting, including the championship leaders. Foggy trying to get through the squabbling pack of cars. He's side by side. Oh, he's going off. Foggy's off. He's in the gravel. He tried to get past Andy Maxwell and all of that, and just got forced out because they were something like 3 wide already, and there just wasn't any room. So Foggy's going to be shuffled down to the back of the order. Johnny Brandon's been gaining places. He's gaining one on Dean Timms as we speak. Oh, and Rich Wilmingham moving slightly mid corner gets a little bit of a hit check. He's going to be losing place in that as well. I think he possibly got out of rhythm after trying to pass someone and not quite making it stick. But yeah, carnage and plenty of position changes further back.
Oh,
and, Michael Bingham did a good job to avoid a collision.
Charles Kellyman. It's Kellyman who is off at the Audi S, and they now stack up 4 wide on the exit of it there, and there's more contact, and that's warming, and bang, 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 as there goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. One up on its roof is Dan Blake. Can he get it righted? No, he can and not, and
Caution,
that is going to be a caution out on track there for a massive incident in the back of the pack. A vehicle on its roof, and that is Dan Blake's race done.
Cautions breed cautions. We say that all the time, and unfortunately there are going to be plenty of drivers affected by that. Of course, you don't get an automatic rating in iRacing like you do in some other sims, so if you end up upside down, that is your race over. And Dan Blake's still sitting there right now. He goes back to the pits, and that will be his day done. And other drivers were affected in that as well. We saw it all started with Rich Wilmingham getting together with someone on the exit of the Audi S, and actually looking back at that was not Rich Wilmingham's fault at all. Oh, it's Chris Danes who came together with them. So Chris Danes there was involved, and it looks to me as if he slotted through between 2 cars and then straight into the side of Rich Wilmingham. They came together. That spewed Danes across the track, involving Dan Blake. Is that Nicole Foggy? Foggy was involved too. Yes, it was. And Ashley Beard ended up pointing backwards as well. So another accident, and that's the disadvantage of starting so far back in the field. Not only do you have so many cars to pass, any one of them can take you off.
And that's what happens when you get drivers who are very much aggressive, who want to be in a position where they go out and they attack and they want everything to work in their favour. Drivers want to go out there and attack, and that all started with Charles Kellyman and him getting turned in the middle of the pack. He gets put onto the outside. It forces everyone to go narrow through that section. And then when you've got drivers who are checking up for an incident on the outside, that itself not a caution. But when you get 4 wide and you get drivers into the wall and a massive spear across the vehicle, breaking the plane of 90 degrees up on its roof, up on its side, you'd say in the real world that would be a red flags race with a vehicle upside down like that in these sorts of vehicles. I have to say as well, it's very lucky that this race is very much considered a yellow flag at this point in time, Caitlin. Well, no comment there in terms of that, but for the time being, Ethan Bass will just tick off very happily. But Caitlin, you'd say breaking the plane of 90 degrees there, you'd have to say in the real world that would be a red flag.
Yeah, I expect it would have been. So actually, I should speak in Chris Dane's defense. He's just retired from the race. I do think that he probably could have done more to avoid that, although watching the incident on board, I see exactly why he did what he did. There was a car to his left, he took avoiding action. To be honest, if I was a steward, I would probably leave that as a racing incident, as Wilmingham also had to come across slightly due to the car on his outside. Again, it was just 4 wide, not working. We've seen that twice in this race so far, and it's easy to say, well, you know, why haven't these drivers learned yet? And to be honest, they maybe should have done. However, it's very, very difficult, very difficult to know who you're alongside with, to know how many cars are alongside you, and especially when they're moving at different speeds like that, because you have to remember, I think it was Ashley Beard had run off at the previous corner. He was moving slowly at that point in time. That's so difficult to judge, and I know that I initially blamed Chris Danes. I'm going to say that was a racing incident, much like the opening laps racing incident was. Any incident, in my opinion, is avoidable, although that one not really avoidable without the hindsight we have now.
Well, 2 cautions. We've not had 2 cautions in a race all season long, and this is the first time that has become the case. So these drivers really do need to just settle down and try and make sure that they are working out how they're going to hit this race running and know exactly what they need to do to make sure that this is going to work out in their favour. But Bass will be happy at the front of the field. Lavallee now secondly, Dima in third, Gardner's fourth, John Roberts fifth, McNally is there in sixth, Daniel James is in seventh, Scott Malcolm is eighth, Andrew Woodhouse ninth, and Michael Bingham is 10th. Adam McNally's just gone on a tear in those laps and a bit. He has really taken advantage of these safety cars, and he's gained 14 places. Adam Hedgecock as well, up into 11th position after the big incident. And a lot of drivers, a lot of the contenders trying to make their way through here with these showdown points on offer. Those drivers who are in the showdown, most of the time, have been caught, be it amateur or, of course, for the overall crown alike.
Yeah, those are obviously the biggest winners in this race so far. I think one of the biggest losers is Charles Kellyman, as he's dropped from 7th to 20th. And also Peter Van Gool, who retired earlier on in the race, will be feeling very much aggrieved. He had a good opportunity with that. But anyway, he is out of the race. Michael Bingham dropped to P10 after skating across the grass. And I was going to say earlier, did an excellent job of avoiding spearing into the pack at the Hugenholzbocht. I really thought that he was going to, and even exclaimed as if he had done. But yeah, no, really good avoidance to get it slowed down in time. It's so difficult to when you go skating across the grass. We're going to have one more lap behind the safety car now. So one more lap for the drivers to sit in behind and prepare for the restart. If we were doing a timed race, the race would have actually finished by now. So I'm glad that we're not doing it. Not sure quite how many laps we completed. I think you probably know about that better than I do.
This is lap 7.
Lap 7. Okay, lap 7 out of 9. So we're going to get 2 laps on the restart.
We certainly are, and they'll be hoping that there'll be no more cautions, because a caution inside of those final couple of laps and that race will be all but over as they get themselves through. So this is going to be a very, very tough one for those who are looking to try and get through. Everyone just sitting and waiting for this restart and hoping that this is going to put them in place. This is a big shake-up race, though, in terms of that championship. A lot of rivals towards the back of the field. A great equaliser in terms of how this has gone. I put this as Adam McNally gaining big points in the championship as things stay like this one here, Caitlin. And this could really throw the cat amongst the pigeons. Excite could put themselves in a really strong place for what's going on for the next racing.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think they're going to be in a good position here. Of course, McNally already gained 14 positions in this race, and I think probably has to be one of the favourites on the restart, along with potentially Steve Lavallee, one of those probably most likely to come through to the win. Adam McNally was very fast in qualifying. He was one of the top drivers not to come from the XV racer squad, and actually him and Lavallee came together at the start of race one. Luckily, both got away with minimal damage and time loss. Although Steve Lavallee starting from second, McNally starting from sixth, he has more places to gain, and they have Dima, Gardner, and Roberts in between them, who themselves would very much like to claim those top 5 positions and as many points as they possibly can. And let's not forget Ethan Bass either. He's leading this race, and though most of it has been driven under caution, he's had to hold the other drivers off on the parts that weren't driven under caution. He had the measure of Steve Lavallee on that last restart, and well, if he can do it once, he can do it again.
Well, they'll hope to see what they can get as they look to go on through. It's been interesting listening to radio communications to see how everyone's been feeling about the way that they've been driving and how they've been trying to make their pushes forward. Of course, one of the things with iRacing is that you get open radio communication with absolutely everyone if you choose to have it. So that's going to be something where the drivers are communicating with each other, thinking, well, come on, guys, what are we doing? We've been under pace now at 60 kilometers an hour for over half of the race. And let's not forget, Ethan Bass has only had to race in anger, not even a lap to hold his lead, but Steve Lavallee, who has just picked off one position at a time from race start to restart, he now only has one position to pick off and 2 laps to go out there and do it here on Ethan Bass, making their way through the Audi S with the final couple of corners coming along. It's not what the fans want, it's not what the drivers want, but sometimes when you are racing like that and you see massive incidents, you have no other choice but to call things the way as they are seen. But for the time being, these drivers now need to understand that they have to go out there and race, and they've got to get their points and get as much as they can. Some say this is going to be where drivers get desperate. Some may argue they've been desperate already as they go through. There will be 2 laps to go as they cross the line, and can they find themselves with some big results? Bass has got to try and run away and hit the green flag quickly. They'll all try and pick up the big overspeed and wait the green flag to hit. They'll wait for the pace car to dive down in, which will be the signal for that green flag, which hits now. And let's get ourselves back to some green flag running. 3 wide already they go, and suddenly as they go straight on by, that's Dan James picking up a big run. He may cop a penalty for overtaking before the start finish line as they hit the brakes into turn 1. No. 1, 2 around they go, and they just about filter out, so we'll stay green for the time being there. No caution called, but everybody there getting involved, and it was always looking like it was a powder keg ready to explode.
That was Dan James losing control under braking and spearing straight into to John Roberts. No fault of Roberts whatsoever, all on Dan James, I'm afraid to say. And James, unfortunately, has got off much better than Roberts. Roberts dropping right to the back of the field, and probably feeling very much aggrieved for that, and rightfully so. Ethan Bass continues to lead. He got a much better restart than Steve Lavallee. Anticipated it well, then it's Dima and Gardner in behind. And James has dropped back slightly. I believe Adam McNally now is up into 5th position. He is indeed. So McNally gaining places on the restart like we expected him to do. I got it wrong actually. He wasn't restarting the race from 6th place. He was restarting from 7th. But anyway, towards the end of the first full lap of green flag racing, Bass under pressure from Lavallee. Lavallee getting closer.
Lavallee getting a lot closer, and remember, there's only a lap and a bit here to go at this Zandvoort track, and Steve Lavallee has only got to pick apart the move here. Ethan Bass has done well. The battle for 3rd, Lee Dima, Sean Gardner, Adam McNally, all there, and then the pack fighting in the background. You've got, I believe that is Dean Timms trying to find a way past Andy Maxwell, does so, holds the position. Foggy's in the mix as well. Johnny Brandon trying to gain some places quick as well, but the white flag will come out for Ethan Bass in a race which has been sturgid in the way that it's been run. It's been caution driven through the majority of this one, and not a fun caution driven race. This hasn't been a fun race for these drivers. This has been gritty, but you have to get through the grit if you want your points, if you want your victory, as Dima holds well defensively, Gardner. He knows McNally is also part of that championship battle. He will not be doing any favours for the Toonside boy, who tries to find a way past Gardner, fighting for his amateur category championship life at this stage, but it's all good. Bass still there in position. LaValle can't find a way through at the Hoogan holds at turn 4. Now up the hill, looking towards the big right-hander of She-Black. They come along as now here's Nicole Foggy trying to get past Andy Maxwell. No dice for him at the moment as they go on through this section. LaValle is probably trying to set up the Audi S as the big place to try and go out there, make the move, get it done, and he closes within a car length then at the front of this field. The battle further down in the pack. McNally gives a tap then to Gardner, who goes to the big lunge here on one driver, that being Lee Deemer, and Deemer gets mugged as that position changes. They go through. Now McNally wants it on the outside. Deemer goes to the inside, no room at the end. McNally will try the outside. He should get a better run off the exit, but he runs his Excite teammate off the road. Unbelievable stuff there. No honour amongst thieves as they get on the brakes into the Audi S you're leading to. And at the moment, Steve LaValle needs a big move, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to find it. Ethan Bass doing enough at this point in time, saying as much. Off goes Maxwell in the background as well in the Audi S. He will not be happy about that, but the run to the line is Bass versus LaValle. LaValle has himself a couple car lengths to try and chase down, so he gets on the power as quickly as he can. Bass going to try and run for the line. He goes hard to the inside, but Bass will survive and will take this second race. A mistake late for Gardner, though, is going to give McNally an extra position on the line, and that's a shame for the Boosted driver. Points lost in terms of the way that this one was run. Foggy gets a couple come the end in a race which really will be one that will be forgotten by the record books.
Goodness gracious me, another very exciting race, very unpredictable. Ethan Bass doing a fantastic job to hold on to the lead there. You can say that he had it easy because he had to drive most of the race at 50 kilometers per hour or whatever it was, and it really wasn't, because he had to control those restarts, and even towards the end, Steve LaValle was putting so much pressure on him. LaValle second place, Lee Deemer is third, then McNally and Gardner. There was a mistake on the final lap there from Michael Bingham, who dropped from 11th to 21st after going off in the RDS all on his own, and he'll feel pretty annoyed at that since he started second in this race. And the driver who started on pole went on to take a victory. Driver who started third ended up coming home third. That's Lee Deemer as well. But in between them, the entire field completely muddled up.
Completely muddled up indeed. Full classified results then as follows. Ethan Bass picks up the win then in 25 minutes and 14 seconds for 9 laps worth of racing. It was a long one, with Steve LaValle finishing in second position. Lee Deemer gets third ahead of Adam McNally. Sean Gardner's mistake on the final corner costing him a podium position. Dan James gets sixth with Scott Malcolm in seventh. Andrew Woodhouse picks up eighth with a good drive for Adam Hedgecock up to ninth. Johnny Brandon, though, does get a top 10, and those are big points over Foggy.
Nice win for me.
So yeah, indeed, those are big points over Foggy. And sorry, did you read out the top 10 in the order?
I did.
Okay, sorry, just getting a bit distracted there. Adam Bath came home in 11th position, followed by Dean Timms. Nicole Foggy, after getting involved in 2 separate accidents, came home in P13. He did not have a good day. Lane O'Connor was P14, then Andy Maxwell, P15. James Leggett, Ashley Beard, who was also involved in the incidents at the start. Charles Kellyman ran off in the RDSs. Rich Wormingham was involved, and John Roberts was one of the later drivers to go off after being rudely punted off the road to finish P20.
And then the final few drivers then who didn't make it to the end. Michael Bingham was the last finisher, but Dan Blake, Chris Daines, well, Dan Blake did finish, but 4 laps down, but Chris Daines and Peter Van Gool do not make it to the end of this race. A very, very tough and probably depressing race for a lot of people as they watch, but hopefully things will clear up for the final 30 minutes and reverse grid. We're going to spin the wheels, see what the reverse grid is going to be, and the answer to that is 15. So a 15 reverse grid then for the final race of the night. We're going to step aside very briefly for one moment here at Forever Sim Racing, hopefully without hearing us in the background, and we will talk with you, of course, when the final race comes up in just a few minutes' time. Don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the British Sim Racers TCR Sunday Cup. It's Showdown season, and what a time for Showdown season to get into place. A lot of drivers really frustrated after that race that we had, the second race of the Showdown, the second race of 9. But here's the third. It's quote-unquote a 30-minute race, but of course the safety cars could very much change that. It can go anywhere up to 50 minutes or 17 laps, whichever one comes along first. 3 cautions in 2 races. You don't often hear it around a circuit like Zandvoort, but here in the dunes, it seems the incident has been rife as people start fighting for big results. Jake Sperry, Caitlin Penny in the commentary booth, Graham Sesford on the cameras for us this evening. We do apologise for the graphics for those of you who are joining us or are new to Forever Sim Racing. We have had massive technical issues here today, which has meant that we have pretty much been scrambling all evening long to get a broadcast together, and we're very lucky to have one. But we also do believe that we have a lot coming up for you in the future as well to try and get around all of this going on. But Caitlin, this is a big last race, not because drivers need to race clean here, which quite honestly they do, but on top of that you have to look at the fact that a lot of these drivers here want a race. They haven't effectively, for the course of the night that they've had so far in 2 races, had a quote-unquote race, and they haven't raced longer than 3 laps at any stage in this evening.
That's quite something, isn't it? Reminds me of the European Formula 3 Championship when they raced here back in 2015. The number of safety cars we're seeing. Of course, that year they had a race where they ran exactly 0 laps behind the under green flag conditions. So bad was it. But yeah, today at least we've had some laps under green flag conditions. But yeah, there will be some drivers that are getting very frustrated who just want to go, and they need to control that frustration, because that may well have been what caused some of the incidents in race 2 there. And the most important thing for a racing driver is to have your psychology in the right place, because it's as much of a psychological game as it is a game of skill. So keep calm. You know, whether the cautions come or not, you're still going to get a good deal of racing. It's a supposedly 30-minute race, hopefully 30-minute race if it goes okay. 17 laps, whatever happens. Just keep cool. You know. Keep your head.
Well, I've just seen the sense of humour that John Roberts has, and I absolutely love it. Might miss the start, just booking tomorrow off work just in case, which it won't go that long, John, but you're very welcome to start from pit road. You might gain a few places that way, but they haven't had any indication to show that they've had the ability to run absolutely fantastically quick times again and again and again. But this is going to be a tough 17 laps or 50 minutes, whichever comes first, and in these conditions it may as well be either at this stage in time. But I think a lot of drivers are trying to get something out of it. A lot of those drivers towards the back of the pack on the big reverse did not get anything that they wanted out of that opening race. They know they've got to get something huge coming from this third and final race. They've got to find something. They've got to find points. They've got to find something to take home for all the practice that they've put in for this evening. Timer, though, does expire on this practice session, and for the final time tonight, we're going to take you over to the grid. We know there's 2 more weeks worth of racing to come up as well. Those are going to be huge. The finish to this championship at Phillip Island, but this is how the grid is going to stack. On the pole will be Andy Maxwell, comes into this race as the amateur category leader. Lane O'Connor in second. Nicole Foggy, championship leader, coming in, is third. Then it's Dean Timms and Adam Bath, 4th and 5th, with Johnny Brandon in 6th. Then it's Adam Hedgecock, Andrew Woodhouse, Scott Malcolm and Daniel James. Sean Gardner goes from 11th. Then it's Adam McNally and Lee Deemer, Steve Lavallee and Ethan Bass there in 15th. Then it's James Leggett, Ashley Beard, Charles Kellyman, Rich Warmingham, and then John Roberts, Michael Bingham, Dan Blake and Chris Daines make the 23. Peter Van Gool will not take to the start of this race, but a minute to get themselves gridded up, waiting for the likes of Nicole Foggy, who will make the whole field wait for him, as will Lee Deemer here on this 1 minute to get yourself gridded up. There is Nicole Foggy, just waiting for Lee Deemer to get himself there, and at the wrong time, a receive throughput fell to an unacceptable level. He's not here in the session, so he's going to big lose out in terms of these points. Let's see how this one's going to go. Green flag, and let's get going, and it's slow from Maxwell. He was so slow off the start, and Foggy may want to go through. There's not a gap there, D. Don't go for it, and he decides to check up, and now the field will all have to check up after the slow starts, and now you start worrying about who's going to make the move into turn one. Maxwell very slow on the inside as they go on through. Are they going to find themselves cleanly through this opening section for the first bit? Yes, they are, but Foggy around the outside gets the move done into the race lead.
Good to see Chris Dane in the race. He initially said that he wasn't going to start, but he has done. But yeah, Foggy taking the lead off the start. Contact further back.
Yeah, there is, and it's two vehicles getting themselves involved. One of them is the vehicle there being of Sean Gardner, which is going to hurt hard. John Roberts involved as well. Charles Kellyman there. They clear themselves up. No caution needed then on the early start. Side by side, Johnny Brandon trying to go around the outside of Lane O'Connor. Gets a shove from one Adam Bath as they went on through. Adam Hedgecock wants in as well. Scott Malcolm there in the mix as well, as Malcolm in the middle, so to speak, at this point in time. Wide goes Dean Timms. He's in the grass and he drops 2 positions, and suddenly do you get aggressive? Oh yes, you get too aggressive if you're an Apex car. Off to the outside goes Dean Timms.
Yeah, just coming from absolutely nowhere there was Adam Bath, and Timms dropping further down the order. Just had a look back at the incident between Gardner and whoever he was racing with, and I don't think it was anyone's fault. There was a little bit of neckcoat contact. You can't really blame anyone for that. Anyway, towards the end of the first lap, it is going to be Nicole Foggy who leads the field through. The rest of the order a little bit less predictable. It's Andy Maxwell currently in second position. Johnny Brandon already up to third, 6th on the grid, so getting a good start in the other XV race.
Big incident. James Leggett gets a turn and he catches Steve LaValle as well. They just about hold it off of the racing line, so we're staying green for the time being there. So that was Scott Malcolm getting caught up in all of that one. A big hit then as he went on through, and he got the tap from behind. That was Dan James. No, in fact, it was the tap from in front. He caught the Excite car, then tried to get to the outside. That didn't work. Leggett found himself in the wall, and then LaValle on rejoin gets himself in all shades of no man's land, nowhere to go. Not ideal. Side by side though, as McNally tries to fend off Adam Hedgecock in terms of the points for the showdown, and trying everything here in this battle to keep this one in check. They're nice and calm for the moment, but side by side for second. Here's Johnny Brandon trying to find a way through here on Andy Maxwell. Can he get the move done as he goes up in towards She-Black here? This big around the outside right-hander, very comfortably done. Johnny Brandon now makes it a XV Racer 1 and 2, and Lane O'Connor, the Irishman, trying to wait in on the mix.
How many times in the previous few races have we seen Foggy first, Brandon second, or the two of them in the opposite order? These two definitely the favourites for the championship. At this point in time, Maxwell has to settle for third for the time being. He'd be proud of a podium if he can hold off the cars behind. He's got Lane O'Connor immediately behind him, and then Dan Worth and Andrew Woodhouse. Actually, Adam McNally is fighting Woodhouse now. He's up the inside, and this is for 6th position. Has to back out of it for the time being. Adam Hedgecock just behind him. He's actually just got past. Hedgecock has Adam McNally as they stream now through towards Ari Lyondike, but for another time of asking. I think they're getting closer. I think Berth definitely is getting closer to O'Connor, who himself is getting closer to Maxwell for third.
Well, we'll see how this one pans out. McNally wants to attack Woodhouse as well. This would be good for the Apex drivers. Lane O'Connor did a 48.4 that last time by a 49.5 for Andy Maxwell. It was a 49 flat for Adam Bath, as there's the look down the inside. It didn't work there for McNally. Woody is too goody on the brakes as they go through that section. Was there contact? No, there wasn't. He looked every which way, did McNally. No dice. He goes through, but Woodhouse runs slightly wide through turn number 4, out on, or 3 out on track as he heads into that big Hugenholz corner. No chance, but look at the pack he holds up. Warmingham, Danes, Beard, Bass, Hedgecock there. McNally and Woodhouse all going together, and they know they can't afford any incident, because lo and behold, the person who forces a 4th caution on the day.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that would definitely not make them popular at all. Lane O'Connor trying to get underneath Scott Maxwell. Maxwell knew exactly where to place his car. right on the inside where O'Connor wanted to go. There was a slight touch, but that's not going to affect Maxwell at all. And it's just going to spread momentum off Lane O'Connor. Now we're heading again through the corner known as that will be Vodafone Bocht. Down towards the RDS. You do get a bit of slipstream here, however, not really that much, as up ahead of them actually. Brandon got much closer to Foggy in the braking zone. Adam Bath now right on the back of Lane O'Connor, much closer than he was at the start of the lap. He's certainly within 0.6 of a second, and a big chain of cars streaming through behind them.
A lot of chain of cars as the front two have broken away, but the question becomes, can the pack hold on? Woodhouse doing very, very well in terms of that scrap, but this could all change on the run to turn number 1. Tarzan, of course, the Dutch word for bocht very much means turn, so that is Tarzan turn they find themselves into at the moment. On the brakes, can Maxwell just hold it on the banking? Yes, he can, so he's able to keep himself in check for the moment. O'Connor and Bath now behind us. Contact in the background as Adam McNally gets a turn, and he's come together with one Mr. Adam Hedgecock as they came through. 3 drivers getting caught up in it, but they dumped themselves to the outside. No caution needed for that. And now it's 2 lot going Tokyo Drift. That's both Bass there and Beard going sideways.
Oh, yeah, a couple of cars losing time further back. We've now got Beard side by side with Warmingham. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Contact. And wide goes not Beard, in fact. Here's Bass running wide after, sorry, they're delivered the same on my screen. Going wide after contact with Warmingham, getting away with it. Warmingham claims 11th position, so gains a place, tries to break into the top 10. He's got Ashley
look
Beard.
at Danes.
Sorry.
Look
Danes.
Chris Danes around the outside at Vodafone, gets it done at Renault over Andrew Woodhouse, and Woody has nothing to argue against Chris Danes. That is just too good of a move of a man who is very upset with the way that racing has gone in the opening 2 rounds, and he's got it straight back. Woody, way too late on the brakes, trying to go around the outside, no chance at all of that one working. So for the time being, there's going to be no chance of that one working out. Crucially though, Brandon and Foggy, the gap a second between them. Maxwell currently still holding off O'Connor and Bath. They're waiting, but this mid-pack is where all of the scrapping and clawing is very much at this point in time. Gap 1.1 at the front. Nicole Foggy has to run away from teammate Johnny Brandon.
Behind, Lane O'Connor takes a little look there, but I think he's going to end up losing time as Adam Bath is on his tail. He wasn't able to pull a move. Look at Warmingham now, and Bass trying to go around the outside of him, is he? He'll be almost on the gravel on the exit there as we head up towards the what is effectively turn 3, the Gerlach Bocht, and here comes Adam McNally diving underneath him, and that is a great opportunistic bit of overtaking from Adam McNally. Very well done. Here comes Adam Hedgecock as well from behind. Bass Doherty was trying to gain one position, ended up losing another, and you can't really go around the outside like that. So through went McNally.
Yep, through went McNally, and McNally will be very happy with the way that he made that move. And next up for him will be Rich Warmingham, who's trying to get past Andrew Woodhouse, who has lost the position to Ashley Beard, who's trying to get damage limitation fully in effect as he looks to try and push away forward as these packs still continue. Got to give props to Andy Maxwell though. He is fighting well here with Lane O'Connor and Adam Bath. They cannot find a way through on the amateur category leader coming into these 3 rounds of the Showdown, the opening 3 of the Showdown. The middle 3 you'll catch next week here on Forever Sim Racing, hopefully with some nice shiny graphics that we normally have. And then of course the Showdown finale at Phillip Island. Make sure that you tune in for that one too. But Adam Bath not close enough to make a move. Pack of 5 behind Woodhouse, who's very much the cork in the proverbial bottle. Behind that though, Dan James and Dan Blake, 2 Dans going at it. Charles Kellyman in there as well, but up and under, mistake made. Blake moves to the outside. He was not very happy earlier on. He said, "You can't block like that to me," he said over the radio. But now he starts thinking about, can I get around the outside of Ari Lurendijk and get the move over towards turn number 1. He gets a stonker of a run, and he gets onto the grass, all 4 wheels, as he tried to correct the mistake, and he did so just enough. But ultimately, that is a run coster as he hits on the brakes, and he needs more Starbucks after that.
Meanwhile, Bath tried to get past O'Connor. He got right up the inside of Zandvoort. Of Tarzan. I thought he was going to pull it. didn't quite, and the battle for the lead has come down to within a second. So Brandon is charging. We've seen previously that there's no team orders between the two, so they could very much go at it, and we want them to, because that is the fight. Could end up being the fight for the championship. And very, very exciting, very important. Now, I'm more expecting Adam Bath to pull a move on Lane O'Connor this lap, because we saw that he's not afraid to go for it in opportunities where you don't really think he's going to be able to make it. Wants to startle Lane O'Connor, but at least O'Connor now knows that he's going to do that. He knows that he knows where Bath is strong. He might be wiser to it this time as well, because he still has Andy Maxwell on his side. He can still very much take a podium place today, which would be a fantastic to come away with. But as Chris Danes goes for a bit of a slide behind, they're definitely under pressure.
They are, and it's 2 packs of 5 now, as now Warmingham tries to battle it out with McNally, who just about dispatches of that. Hedgecock and Bass going at it. Mistake there on the outside for Warmingham, who moves to the back of the pack with potentially a slowdown penalty. That will hurt as they go through, but Adam Bath and co have been caught by Danes and Beard, who have been making the charge and have been a lot quicker in terms of pace. Danes 146s. Adam Bath did a 47.5 that last time by, lost 1.2 seconds, and now sees the initiative to go out there and be aggressive. Lane O'Connor having none of it though at turn number 1. Gap at the front down to half a second for Johnny Brandon, who now needs to just wait because he knows it's lap 7 of 17. He's got 10 laps to wait to go out there and make that move.
This could very much be on. He would be feeling more pressured if it was if it was race 1 or race 2, because they're much shorter races. However, this is race 3. It's a much longer one, and they can run away together for the time being. What's happened?
I saw Adam McNally go for a move on Andrew Woodhouse where there was clearly no gap, and they're lucky it was only just a tap. It could have been a massive accident between them if they weren't too careful going through that section. But look at how Maxwell is underneath that pressure. Where do you go? And Lane decides to go around the outside. Maxwell has none of it with a great run off of the exit, and that's where he's been so good. And there's the punt. Danes gives the punt. Lane O'Connor goes round almost, and there loses all the positions. Back to the back of the train you go. Dane goes, Chris Danes there moves up another position as they continue to scrap up and down this field as they try and go through. Dan Blake also not very happy. He got involved in an incident with Daniel James going around Shevlak, and the pair of them netco drew into each other and bang into the fence went one Dan Blake.
Ashley Beard there also getting past Lane O'Connor due to that incident, and that was not Lane O'Connor's fault. He did very much get punted by Chris Danes, who tried to duck underneath him. Now Danes going for Andy Maxwell down the straight, gets the slipstream, and I think he's going to be close enough. He's getting closer and closer, and almost being driven into the pit wall there. Goes to the his driver's left side instead, and ducks underneath him. That was that was really good. I think that was a fair move that time, and Danes takes 3rd position away from Andy Maxwell.
You have to say Chris Danes is the master of that. He did that at Lime Rock Park a week ago as well, as Dan Blake comes down in for the penalty, and look at that, straight through, very much the case. Battle for your leaders though, down to 0.3 of a second. Johnny Brandon has got to just pick a date, pick a time, and he's got to make sure that he gets himself a nice shiny overtake, and then he can be happily married with a race victory here, Caitlin.
Yeah, definitely. He's right on the back of Foggy at this point in time, and I'm not sure if they're going to want to race just yet, or if they're going to want to leave it later in the race. But anyway, they have a 12-second advantage over the field, so providing there aren't team orders, which we don't think there are, I don't see why they wouldn't be racing now. So those two very, very close, as behind them the field continues to scrap. Beard going for Bath on this lap, so he got several battles that we have to keep an eye on, and Beard looks like he may be going for it here. Suddenly took a look. I think he was just trying to unsettle Bath, who sure as heck would have been looking in his mirrors there, and feeling a little bit vulnerable in the braking zone. He wants to probably put Maxwell between the two of them in due time. So as we head onto the straight again, this is where things could change. Brandon not close enough to Foggy. What about Bath and Beard? Well, you see that Bath coming, and again nearly drives the pit wall, but they get away with it. With Beard now going to driver's left, trying to go around the top side of Tarzan. And if he could do that, that would be quite something. It looks as if he might, because he's got a much better run. And he's done it. He's done it. They're into turn 3.
Oh, and well, this could be a mirror image, because Adam McNally's just done exactly the same thing on Andrew Woodhouse. That's fantastic to see it. The Apex cars got overtaken at exactly the same point, on exactly the same lap, in exactly the same manner, by exactly the same team being Sight Energy. You can't write that any better. That is a mirror image of both drivers getting overtaken at the same point in time. Now for Adam Butt, he's got to hold off Lane O'Connor once again. For one Andrew Woodhouse, he's got Bass, Warmingham and Hedgecock to deal with in terms of this mini pack on the train as they continue to have their scraps. And there goes Lane. Oh, that's way too aggressive down in. And Adam Bath gets practically forced out of the way, but Lane redresses the position and says, you know what, you have it, I'll try and get it the clean way.
Yeah, that's very sportsmanlike of him. I think a lot of other drivers probably had opportunities to do that in these 3 races and didn't. So Lane O'Connor there doing a good job of being a good sport, and to be honest, that's what this series is all about. I know that sometimes sim racing can get a little bit toxic, especially when there are so many incidents going on. But at the end of the day, you've got to remember that you're still sports people. You're still fighting for the same honours, and as a result, chivalry is still important. But anyway, now he has to get past the clean way, and it's costing him time, certainly.
Well, got to look at who's costing who time at the front of the field. It's 13 seconds now between Johnny Brandon and Chris Daines, and that just tells you how much of a breakaway that these two have at the front of the field. Half distance already scored complete in terms of time, and they are on lap 10 of 17, so this is going to finish before 30 minutes are up. Mark my words about it if things stay like this. Foggy and Brandon both together, having their scrap, having their claw, but also you got those big scraps back in the lower pack. 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th and 8th still going at it on the road. It's fractured everywhere else out there on the road, but crucially enough, McNally, Woodhouse, Bass, Warmingham and Hedgecock still within a second of each other, all still looking to try and gain a position. They are being patient because of what has happened previous.
Yeah, so very, very close still between the top 2. I've just noticed Brandon taking his first look to the right-hand side of Nicole Foggy. That's the first time I've seen him look as if he might be thinking about a move. Ashley Beard there getting a better exit than Andy Maxwell as well. So everything kicking off up the front of the field in the top 5. Beard very close. Maxwell not quite being able to turn his car in as well as Beard can, and as a result, Beard very much in control of the situation, knows where he wants to go and puts his car there. Whereas Andy Maxwell only knows that he wants to be right in front of Ashley Beard and not behind him. Still doing a good job of holding the position, but this is a lot of pressure for one car to take on their own. He would ideally have wanted to be in a bit of a pack at this point to gain advantage from those situations, although still holding 4th as we go into another lap.
Yep, lap 11 here of 17, and Andy Maxwell here in 4th place. The pole sitter has had a very strong drive and has done incredibly well at the moment to hold off Ashley Beard, who has been dropped by Chris Daines at the rate of about 2.5 seconds when they last crossed the line, so that's not going to help. But Johnny Brandon had the best chance in the world to make the move in the right hander. No chance, gets a good run through the exit then, and can he get it done at Vodafone? No, he cannot, but he's trying to open up the corner to maybe get a run through Renault and through Marlborough, and then find the big opportunity come the big right-left chicane here at the Audi S, and he gets the run off the exit that he desires, and suddenly Nicole Foggy's having to defend this one, but Brandon is pretty much sitting on the rear, waiting for the right time to make this strike. He tries to go around the outside here to take the race lead and momentum. Oh, they come together, and through goes Johnny Brandon, but he redresses it. There's still time to go.
These two can't stop coming together, can they? It happened twice at Monza. I've seen them have a brief touch at one of the other rounds as well. And now they've, well, that could have been so much worse. If Foggy had speared back across the track into the side of Brandon, they could have both had some quite severe damage. And I'm glad they didn't, because now we still have this fight for the lead on, but that was almost over in the worst possible way. Now Brandon takes another look to the left-hand side. The gap between the two of them less than 0.2 of a second as they cross the line, and there was definitely overlap in turn 1 there. Brandon not able to drive around the outside like he's racing for Excite Energy, but still putting a lot of pressure on his teammates. Foggy taking a tighter line, a defensive line. What's happened, sorry?
McNally's come into the pits here. I wonder if he's low on fuel and needs to get a splash and dash. It's cardinal in these sorts of races. Maybe you underfilled the car because you were expecting cautions. Well, this race has gone cautionless so far, and McNally could be made to look a little bit like the court jester, so he won't be too happy about that. Maxwell still holding off Beard. The leading two still out there with 5 laps to go at the line here, Caitlin. Battling with everything on the line. This is a momentum-changing race. Whoever picks up this victory, in my mind, could be favourite to go on to take the showdown.
Yeah, certainly. Foggy's just had a very slight edge over Brandon for pretty much the whole of the rest of the season, but I think Brandon is more improved than Foggy. He's certainly started to put the power down as the season is going on. And today we could be seeing the turning of the tides. Johnny Brandon hungry for it, and possibly a little bit too hungry, as we saw on the last lap. But whatever the case, still both of them continuing, both of them under control. Behind them, I'm expecting Beard to possibly try something here. Not quite, although definitely forced Maxwell to go defensive. I was keeping my peripheral vision focused on that, because I saw that something was going to happen. Now down the start-finish straight again. Brandon close to the back of Foggy. Foggy pulling across to defend. Saw it coming, and keeps that first position. I don't think Beard's got a good enough run to get past Maxwell this time.
Not for the moment, and Ashley Beard has been looking all over this lap, hoping that there is a move available. There simply put has not. Now the two Apex cars look forming together. Woodhouse and Bath both there, but now here's Rich Warmingham trying to get in on the action around the outside in the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th on the road. No dice, can't get the move sorted, can't get the move done, as Adam McNally has come out behind Michael Bingham, so does drop a fair few points in terms of his challenge at the moment. But again, Johnny Brandon through Shevlak, he's all over the back of his teammate Nicole Foggy. This is the place where on the 3 consecutive right-handers, you got to start thinking about how you gear up to make the move. And there was a thought there from Johnny Brandon right up to the rear of his teammate in the Audi RS3, and could not quite make that move happen. Takes the big wide line to try and get an exit. Sometimes doesn't work. Didn't that time. Cost himself a 1/10 of a second, but he gets some room for the engine to breathe.
Oh, also further back we've got, big dive for Woodhouse there up the inside of Bath, and Warmingham looks as if he's following him through. So I noticed that Bath was struggling a bit through the final few, the previous few corners. I wonder whether his tyres are going off, because he suddenly started dropping back towards these guys. Warmingham around the outside now, possibly about to hold it, little touch, and they make it through okay. But yeah, possibly tyres really starting to come into effect, because Woodhouse and Warmingham are able to dive through like he was glued to the floor. And now, that's close. That's very, very close, and they're going to come together. Running wide is Warmingham. I thought they were going to be forced into the barrier, much like we saw the pile-up in race 2, but luckily just about getting away without any mangled cars, and Warmingham's going to have to go for it again.
Yeah, he is, and he knew that he was close, but ultimately they're side by side on the straight as they go through. Have they got the opportunity to go and make this one work as they go through? Rich Warmingham, who's later on the brakes, very much Rich, but look at how Adam Bath sends down the inside. Contact between them, able to keep it too wide, but Warmingham has the exit and finally gets it done on Adam Bath, who has to finally yield and say, I can't do it, I can't make it, as they continue on their runs through the field as they try and get themselves what they want. Ethan Bass short on fuel. He'll have to go out there, splash and dash, get themselves back going again. Everyone's underfueled their vehicles here because they thought this race was going to be caution filled. And let's not forget here that we have ourselves 4 laps to go, 3 at the line, and still Johnny Brandon waits for his master plan to come into fruition. Johnny Brandon, as we know, always, Caitlin, has a plan.
Yeah, motorsport is unpredictable, and you have to. Oh, big slide there. That's Barth getting sideways. Almost running off the road. I thought he was going for a bit of a spin there, but of course it's easier to save cars when the front wheel drive and you can floor it. But that's what I was going to say. You have to prepare for.
Foggy.
Oh yeah. Here comes Brandon, getting a better run around the outside of the final corner. He's going to be well and truly in the slipstream. The gap between the two of them just less than 3/10 of a second across the line. Foggy defensive. If Foggy had made that mistake at the final corner, I think Brandon would have had it easy peasy. Has to settle for it. But as I was saying, you have to prepare for everything in racing, and the drivers who run out of fuel, I think have made a bad decision by not preparing for a clean race.
Well, the big issue there for Johnny Brandon in terms of making his move, he got caught behind Foggy, had to lift, and any run, any momentum was practically dashed at that point in time. Championship implications, in the words of Mark Skate, as they now start thinking about how do we deal with our battles? Where is the next point in time where we get the big runs, the big results that we are looking for at this moment? Johnny Brandon has been searching, and now all of a sudden he's got to gather up his thoughts, he's got to collect himself and get the one big move that he knows he needs to at this point in time. Still nothing as they head themselves through the left-hander once again, but 2 to go at the line, Caitlin. Johnny Brandon has got to play this tactical chess. He's stayed behind for so long, he's got to now be the aggressor against his teammates.
How many laps have you got to go, Jake?
2 at the line.
Okay, 2 at the line. So, not many more opportunities for Brandon to get past Foggy. The timer, well, he's still got a lot on the timer, so it will go down to laps. That's because we've been caution free. That was where Foggy made a mistake a lap ago, and as I said, I'm sure that if he'd made it at the final corner, Brandon would have been through. But it's so difficult to pass at this Zandvoort circuit because it's so tight and twisty, and there really aren't that many straights. This is one of them. Meanwhile, Warmingham to the inside of Woodhouse. Woodhouse covers it off. That's for 7th position. So that's one of the other fights going on further down the order. Little scrap as Warmingham touches the rear of Woodhouse's car. 2 W names. You don't really see many W names in motorsports or in general. But anyway. And up front, Foggy and Brandon separated by less than half second crossing the start-finish line. They've been that way for the past possibly 7 or 8 laps, and they're still there heading up towards the Scheiflack.
Well, they are going to look at Scheiflack and hope there's going to be a move. Here's the chance then. Andrew Woodhouse very tight and narrow over the pit line as he was trying to defend it. This gives Warmingham a chance around the outside, and Woody is not goody enough to try and defend this one because Warmingham's got that move through up into 7th position. Still, Foggy and Brandon running themselves really close together here, Caitlin.
Indeed. Up the hill. Further down the hill, Brandon took a little look there, went to the outside of Foggy. I think possibly wondering whether he could stick it up the inside of Vodafone box, but Foggy, of course, wide to it. These two probably know each other well. They probably know each other's strengths and weaknesses. They've fought each other all the way through this season so far, and I'm not sure what they've raced so far this season or together before, but whatever the case, Foggy definitely seeming wise to all of Brandon's attacks as we're heading towards the final lap of the race now. Really not many more opportunities for Brandon to pull through.
Well, he's got to get close, and he's got to use the draft to his advantage. The white flag comes out for Nicole Foggy as he now has to think, how is this race going to work? Defensive line taken into turn number 1. Now, how important is that going to be in the grand context Foggy will defend with his life. 16 seconds to Chris Danes. Even if they come together, they may still be able to pick up a 1-2 finish. That may come first in this scenario. Brandon still waiting, hoping there's a chance to make the move. Teams Championship all but secured for this team. XV Racer, who have been dominant after the withdrawal of Ren Sport Online, but up the hill towards She Black they come along one more time, and Johnny Brandon not as close as he has been in laps previous, as he now gets on the brakes through the right hander. This needs to be a worldie of a section for the 5 against the 66, as they again look to make that push over the 3 right handers. This is the second of them through this right, and can there be the magical overtake, the magical moment that happens? It won't be at this corner, and again it's a case of setup game. Can you find the place where the setup game works? Do you dare go aggressive and make the big lunge down the inside to make this race work for you? And again, Nicole Foggy, fantastic off of the exit once more, and looks to say, I have what it takes in this race. On the brakes. This is maybe the last chance saloon for Johnny Brandon. Can he pick a good run up through here? If not, he's hoping for a similar Tony Hawk style mistake from Nicole Foggy, and at the moment it seems like it's not coming. 2 corners to go for Nicole Foggy. Is he nice and tidy on the exit here? Yes, he is. We've seen disaster at the last corner before, though. Keep an eye out on this, but Nicole Foggy has no worries at all as he pulls his way over to the line and says, 2 for me, thank you, and I will cement my legacy as championship leader heading to the penultimate race meeting of the season. A big win, a 1-2 once again. Chris Danes will come home and pick up 3rd. Beard makes a mistake through the penultimate corner, which will give Andy Maxwell 4th place, with Danes is 3rd and Beard in 5th. A great drive from Maxwell, who is cementing himself as the amateur category Le Champion at this point in time. Lane O'Connor a good 6th place. Warmingham will beat Woodhouse out to the end and still battles as Scott Malcolm desperately tries to hold off Steve LaValle to the end here, Caitlin.
Fantastic finish to the race. Nicole Foggy winning by just 0.273 of a second. That's wonderful, and a fantastic defense from Foggy.
Drag race.
Sorry? Oh yeah.
Drag race. Is there going to be time at the line? Oh, Scott Malcolm just holds it there, Caitlin.
Yeah, that was Malcolm just edging out Steve LaValle for 12th position. But as I was saying, Nicole Foggy there, fantastic job to hold off the hard charging Brandon, and Chris Danes very quiet in 3rd place. Andy Maxwell, one of the best defensive jobs. He was holding off Beard for pretty much the entire race, and you saw Beard pushing too hard at the end there, going off into the gravel. He was already behind Maxwell. Maxwell was holding him up fine by himself. Lane O'Connor sticking with them, but yeah, I have to say, Nicole Foggy once again driver of the day, and I've said that quite a lot so far this season, but he has just been fantastic.
Well, official classified results are as follows. 30 minutes, 22 seconds. Nicole Foggy picks up the win. The gap 2/10 over Johnny Brandon, who challenged him all the way home. Chris Danes picking up 3rd place then after getting through the traffic, but great work from Andy Maxwell. 4th place overall for him, a career best in terms of what he's been able to do. Ashley Beard gets 5th with Lane O'Connor in 6th. Rich Warmingham gets 7th with Andrew Woodhouse in 8th. He beats his teammate Adam Bath, and while it's Adam's 9th and Adam's 10th because Adam Hedgecock drops 3 places come the end, a top 10 finish though still for him.
And 11th place, Daniel James, followed by Scott Malcolm, Steve LaValle, who had a very disappointing day, then Charles Kellyman, Sean Gardner, Adam McNally, very up and down as well. Dan Blake, race 2 winner, Ethan Bass was only able to finish P18, so not a good race 3 for him. John Roberts was P19, and then our retirements were Michael Bingham, James Leggett, Dean Timms, and Lee Deemer, and I'm pretty sure we had 24 drivers at the start of the day, so 1 didn't start race 3 there.
That would be Peter Van Gool come the end for the Momo team. Not in anything, not fighting for anything, but some great work nevertheless from everyone. But we head in a week's time to the penultimate race meeting of the season. It's going to be a big challenge for all of these drivers. They know that Phillip Island is approaching in 2 weeks' time. They know what they have to do. But Nicole Foggy, he puts himself at the very top, at the very front. He knows exactly what he was capable of doing, and he will look to try and do so again and again and again. We'll see you in a week's time for the penultimate meeting of the season, where this could be the real turning point of a championship which has kept you on the edge of your seat. We will see you, of course, in that week's time with Forever Sim Racing.